Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we will learn how to crochet a round basket with a wooden base. To crochet this basket we will use a waistcoat stitch, that is a single crochet made into the middle of the stitch from the previous row. I will also tell you how to crochet jacquard pattern, how to change the yarn colors while crocheting, and how to use the scheme of the pattern. I will use 20 centimeters round wooden base and two colors of the 7-9mm t-shirt yarn, one as the main color and another one for the pattern. I use Bobilon T-shirt yarn brand and I really love its quality and color palette that allow you to fully enjoy the crocheting process and the result. They also have 3/5, 5/7 and 9-11mm sizes of the yarn and a lot of beautiful colors. For this basket I've chosen mint and cocoa colors. And I will also use a 6mm hook. All the stuff, the t-shirt yarn and the wooden base and even the hooks, you can purchase in the Bobilon shop on Etsy or on their own website. All the links I will leave in the description to this video right down below. And good news for you, use my promo code and get 10% discount for your order. Don't forget about it. So now take your hook and let's start. So first we need to finish the bottom of our future basket. For that, insert the hook into any of these holes in your wooden base. Hook the working yarn. Here you can leave a little tip. Hook the working yarn. Take a loop. Hook the yarn and push it through the loop on the hook. Then into the next one the same. So it's like a single crochet. We make single crochet into each hole of the wooden base. To the next one. And one more thing, in my wooden base I have 48 holes, I counted them, but for my pattern that I wanna crochet for my basket, I will explain all the details and show the pattern to you later, but now I will just tell you that for my pattern I will need to have 50 stitches around the circle, around the base. And now I have 48, so I need to add 2 more stitches. For that I will make 2 increases, one in front of another one, to get 2 more stitches in my circle, to get 50 stitches. And for beginners I remind that an increase means that I make 2 stitches into one hole. Now I will show you. For example, we can make the first increase into the next hole. So first we make the first stitch the same way, and then we make the second stitch, one more stitch to the same hole, the same way. So instead of 1 stitch we got here 2 stitches. And also in front of this increase we will make another increase here, also making 2 stitches into one. And in the end we will get 50 stitches. Now continue just making 1 stitch into each hole. So now we are approximately in front of our first increase. So into the next hole we will make an increase too, the second increase. 2 stitches into one hole. And finish the base of the basket. And the last stitch into the last hole we will make a little different way. So first we insert the hook into this hole and hook the working yarn as we did it before. Take a loop. Now leave the working yarn and take this tip that we left in the beginning of crocheting. So take this tip, hook the tip and push it through both loops on the hook. Like finish the single crochet with the tip, not with the working yarn. Now pull out the tip like this. This is our working yarn. And now we will use this tip to join this row here. I will use for that a needle with a big eye, but you can also use your hook. So now to join this row, we insert the needle or the hook under the first stitch of this row. Make this length of this part of the tip the same length as our stitches, approximately. And now we need to insert the needle into the same place where the tip comes from. So it comes from here, from this stitch. Here's our tip. It comes from here. So we insert the needle into the same place. So we've joined the row. We made one more stitch. So now if you count the stitches, you will see that we've got 50 stitches around the wooden base. Because we made 2 increases, so we've added 2 more stitches, then the amount of the holes in the wooden base. And this is what we needed for our future pattern. But as you can see, our base still has these holes and it doesn't look beautiful. So now we're gonna hide the holes by making slip stitches into each hole around the wooden base. And by the way, for that I advise you to take a smaller hook. I'm gonna take 5mm hook, because it might be hard to insert the hook into the same holes again after we made these stitches. So just for now, to finish the bottom of the basket, I advise you to take a smaller hook. So find the working yarn again. Here's working yarn, and as you can see, we inserted it through this hole the last time. So now we insert the hook into the next hole after this one where we have the working yarn. So insert the hook, hook the working yarn and take a loop, and don't make these loops, for the slip stitches, too big. Now insert the hook into the next hole, again hook the working yarn and take a loop. And now push this loop through this one. Then again insert the hook into the next hole, hook the working yarn, take a loop, and push this loop through this one. This is called as a slip stitch. Into the next one the same. And as you can see, these slip stitches help us to hide the rest of the holes. So continue making slip stitches into each hole until the end of this row. And the last stitch, here we will also make in a different way. So first we insert the hook into the last hole, and then we hook the tip again. Hook the tip and take a loop, and now push this loop through this one, as we did it before. Now pull out the tip. And now we will use it again to make the last stitch here, to join this slip stitch row. And again I will use a needle with a big eye. So first we insert the needle under the first slip stitch. Like this. And then we insert it into the same stitch where the tip comes from. So we made the last stitch and join the slip stitch row. So now all the holes are hidden and we have finished the bottom of our future basket. Now we get back to the 6mm hook and we will start crocheting the walls of the basket. First I will show you the first stitch of the walls, how we will insert the hook, and then I will show you the scheme of the pattern and try to explain how we will use it. So for the first stitch of the walls, we insert the hook. First we take this stitch, this one or this one, near the working yarn, and we will insert the hook in the middle of these stitches that look like V. Like this, and also we will insert it under these kind of bumps. All the way around we have these bumps, so we also insert the hook under this bump. It might be a little hard. So like this. in the middle of the stitch of the V and under the bump. Then we hook the working yarn and take a loop. Hook the working yarn and push it through the loop on the hook. So this we've made the first stitch of the walls. So let's see the scheme of the pattern, and I will try to explain how we will use it. So here I've drawn the pattern of the walls of the basket. So this is how the walls of the basket will look like. One cell means one stitch. Those cells that I colored with a pencil means another color of the yarn. In my case it's mint. And white cells mean the main color of the basket. In my case it's cocoa. So for example, here's the stitch with the cocoa, with the main color, and here's the stitch with another color. Here also 2 stitches with another color. And this part of the pattern inside the blue square, this is that part that we will repeat many times around the walls of the basket. These numbers mean the number of the row. For example, here's the first row of the walls, the second row of the walls, the third row of the walls, the fourth one, and so on. So altogether we will have 11 rows in the walls of our basket. So let's look at the first row. The first stitch of the row, or the first row, it's a white cell. So that means here will be the stitch with the main color of the basket. In my case it's cocoa again. So we've already made the first stitch of the walls, of the first row of the walls. Now the next one, you see that this cell is colored by pencil, so that means here we will take another color and make a stitch with another color of the yarn. The next one, the third stitch, will be also with another color because it's colored. The next stitch is white, the next cell, so here we will take again the main color of the basket. The next stitch, the next 2 stitches are colored, so here we take another color of the yarn, then next 2 stitches with the main color of the yarn, then 1 stitch with another color, and the last stitch with the main color of the yarn. When we make the last stitch, we start this pattern all over again. So we come back to the first stitch, we look at the first stitch of the first row again, and the next stitch we make 1 stitch with the main color, then again 2 stitches with another color, 1 with the main one, 2 with another color, and so on. Then we come to the last stitch of the first row that I've drawn here, and again we start this row from the beginning, from the first stitch, and we do this until we finish the first row. This part of the pattern contains 10 stitches. 10. So now that's why I needed to have 50 stitches, not 48 as we had the amount of the holes in our wooden base, but I needed 50 stitches because one part of the pattern contains 10 stitches. That means we will repeat it 5 times. 5 times 10 stitches, and in the end we will get 50 stitches. After we finish the first row and join it, we start crocheting the second row. The second row is this one. And we see that the first stitch of the second row is colored by pencil, so we take another color of the yarn. The next 2 stitches are with the main color. Next one with another color. 2 stitches with the main color, and so on. Then we come to the last stitch of the second row. It's a white cell, so it's the main color, and we start this row all over again. Again, we start from this stitch, crochet all these 10 stitches, finish with this with the last one, and start again with this one. And this way we crochet all the rows of the walls. So our pattern, this pattern, we will repeat 5 times around the walls of the basket. So let's try it on practice. So again, let's see the first stitch of the first row, this one. It's a white cell, so that means we make it with the main color of the yarn. But we've already made it. We already made the first stitch, so it was this one, the first stitch of the first row. The second one, look, the second one we have colored, so that means we already take another color of the yarn, and the next stitch we make with another color. So since the next stitch with another color, we should pull out this last loop like this, and we should finish this stitch with another color, because the next one we will use with another color. So we hook the another color yarn and push it through the loop on the hook. So the first stitch we have with the main color, and the next one we make with a new color, with another one. I again remind you how we insert the hook in the middle of this V and under the bump, and then put the tip and the working yarn of the main color above the hook like this, to hide them while crocheting with another color. And by the way, let me call it as mint and brown colors. It will be easier, and you will understand that you have your own color for the the main one, and your own color for the pattern. So I put the tip and the working yarn of the brown color above the hook. Then I take the working yarn of the mint color, hook this yarn, mint yarn, take a loop, hook the working yarn. The working yarn is mint for us now, and push it through both loops on the hook. So we just make a normal single crochet, and now you see that we have the first stitch, the brown stitch, the main color, and the second stitch, the mint one, the same as on our pattern, in our picture. The first one with the main color, the second one with the pattern color. Now look at the third one. The third one also should be mint, should be this pattern color. So we make one more stitch with the mint color. Insert again the same way in the middle of the V, then under the bump, now again we put the tip and the working yarn, the brown working yarn, above the hook, hook the working yarn, the mint one, take a loop, hook the working yarn, and push it through both loops on the hook. We've made the third stitch. So the first one brown and 2 mint. 3 stitches. Let's see the fourth one. So 1, 2, 3. These 3 stitches we've made already, and the next one should be brown, should be with the main color. And here's a thing I will explain you right away so you will understand. In the future, in all other rows and stitches, when the next stitch must be with another color, we finish this stitch with that another color already. So I will show you. So we pull out this last loop like this. So it's like not finished single crochet, and we finish this single crochet with that yarn, that color that we will use for the next stitch. That's how we change from one color to another one. So the next one we will have brown. So we hook the brown yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. So we still have here 2 mint stitches, but the next stitch will be already brown. So insert the hook in the middle of V under the bump. I know it's not easy here in the first row. Then if you still have a tip, you put it above the hook again, and also the yarn for the pattern, mint one, also you put it above the hook. Then hook the working yarn. The working yarn now for us is the brown one, the main color. Take a loop, hook the working yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. So now we have 4 stitches. First one, brown one, then 2 stitches, 2 mint stitches, and the fourth one, brown again. The same as we have on our pattern here. Let's see the 5th stitch. So we made 1 brown, 2 mint, 1 brown. The next 2 stitches you see, they should be mint with the pattern color. 2 stitches. Again, you see we changed the brown one to the mint one. So here in this brown stitch we shouldn't have made this last loop. We should have left it like this, and to finish this stitch we should take the mint one, the mint color. Hook the mint color and push it through both loops on the hook, because next 2 stitches will be mint. So make the next one with the mint yarn, and here I don't have the tip anymore, so I just put the brown yarn above the hook to hide it while crocheting. And I hook the mint yarn, take a loop, hook again the yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. And like I said before, we should make 2 mint stitches here. So next one will be also mint, but the next stitch we will finish with a brown color, because after the next stitch we will make the brown stitch. I hope I explain it clear. So we start making next mint stitch. The brown yarn we put above the hook, then we hook the mint yarn, take a loop, and now, knowing that the next stitch will be brown, we finish this single crochet with the brown color, with the brown yarn. So look, now we have one brown, two mint, one brown, two mint. Let's check it on the pattern. One brown, two mint, one brown, two mint. Everything is right. And next two stitches will be brown. Two brown and one mint. So next one is brown. Don't forget to put the yarn of the another color above the hook. Then we hook the brown yarn, take a loop, and make a stitch. First brown, and there was another one, the second brown. Forgot about this yarn. And we know that the next stitch will be the mint one. So we finish this stitch with the mint yarn. So we've just made these two brown stitches. The next one will be mint, and the last one brown. So mint, brown. This one is mint. Brown color above the hook. Hook the mint color, and we know that the next one will be one brown, so we finish this stitch with a brown color. And next stitch is brown, like I said before. So we've crocheted 10 stitches. Let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've just crocheted this part of the pattern. 10 stitches from the first one to the last one. Then this part of the pattern will repeat 4 more times. So the next stitch we will make will be again this one, the first one, the first stitch of the first row on the picture. And this is the brown one. After the brown one we have 2 mint stitches. So 1 brown and 2 mint. So we just continue 1 brown, and then 2 mint. So next stitch will be mint. That's why I finish this stitch with the mint color. two mint stitches. Always forget to put the yarn above the hook. First mint and next one also mint. But the next one will be brown, so we finish this stitch with a brown color. So you see, here we have finished this part of the pattern with a brown one. This one, and then we started it all over again, brown and two mint. So from this place we started to crochet the same pattern again, one brown, two mint. So let's see the next one. We've made one brown, two mint, then we have one brown and again two mint, one brown, two mint. One brown. The next one will be mint. That's why I take the mint color and finish this stitch with the mint one. And now two mint stitches. One, two. Next one will be brown, so we take brown yarn and finish this stitch. So again we've made one brown, two mint. One brown, two mint. Then we have two brown, one mint, two brown, one mint. Two brown, and then one mint. So we finish this stitch with a mint color. Two brown, and next one mint. And the next one will be brown, so we finish the stitch with a brown yarn. We've made two brown, one mint. Two brown, one mint. And the next one is brown, one brown, the last stitch of the pattern. One brown. Now you see we have repeated the same pattern 2 times. 2 times we came here, from here to here, made these 10 stitches. Now we start again from the first stitch, and again start with the brown, 2 mint, 1 brown, 2 mint, and to the end. Then again we start from the brown, 2 mint, and so on. and we crochet this first row like this until we come to the beginning of the row. So all the way around we repeat the same pattern. So let's show you a little more, and then you will continue by yourself. So we've just finished the pattern and we start again from the beginning. So 1 brown, 2 mint. One brown, and next one will be the mint one, so we finish the stitch with the mint yarn, and 2 mint stitches. One, again forgot to put the yarn above the hook, so first mint and the second one, and the next one will be brown, so we finish this stitch with the brown yarn. So we've just made 1 brown and 2 mint. Here you remember that it was the last stitch of the pattern, and here we started all over again. 1 brown, 2 mint. One brown, 2 mint, and the next stitch is 1 brown and then again 2 mint. One brown, next one will be the mint one, so we finish the stitch with a mint yarn, and 2 mint. One and 2, and the next stitch will be brown, so we finish the stitch with the brown yarn. So we've made again 1 brown, 2 mint. So we've just made 1 brown, 2 mint, 1 brown, 2 mint. Next stitches are 2 brown stitches. So now continue crocheting the first row, finish this part of the pattern, then start the same pattern again from the beginning, and do this until you come to the beginning of the row. And then I will show you how we will join the row. And the last stitch of the first row is the brown one, and we finish this stitch with the brown color too. So I have finished my first row. And now I will show you how we will join it. You can use any way to join a row that you want, that you like, but I will show you my favorite way. It is my favorite because it makes no seam from inside and it looks much more neat and beautiful. I know that many of you don't like this way, but still I don't think that it is hard. And also I have a video about how to unravel such joining that I will show you now. So if you will have any troubles with unraveling this joining, follow that video. I'm sure it will be very easy and clear for you. So first we make the loop on the hook big. Then we insert the hook under the first stitch of the row. So this is the first stitch from the back side. Like this. Then we hook this big loop and bring it to the back side. Now try to make the length of this stitch the same as all other stitches, approximately. And now we take the skein of the same yarn as the loop, so in my case it's brown one, and we push the skein through the loop. So this is how it looks like. Here's our loop, and now the working yarn, the one that comes from the skein, the working yarn goes through the loop because we pushed the skein through the loop. Now take this working yarn here and pull this working yarn to tighten the loop. You see, it's becoming smaller. There's the loop. I'm fixing the length of this stitch. Okay, so now we have a loop here and a working yarn here, and again pull the working yarn to tighten now this loop. So this is how we've joined the row. And if you watched my other videos, maybe you saw there such way of joining a row, but in that case we pushed our crochet through the loop, not the skein. So I should say that it doesn't matter at all what to push through the loop, or your crochet or the skein of the yarn. But when you crochet something big, it is not very convenient to push your crochet through the loop because you need to make a very big loop. So you can use this way of pushing the skein through the loop and you will get the same result. So let's start crocheting the second row. The second row is this one, and we see that it starts with a mint stitch. The first stitch is mint, the color of the pattern. And also the first stitch of the second row, this mint stitch, it is above the first stitch of the first row, above the brown one. So let's see, this was the first stitch of the first row, the brown one. We know that we finish a row also with the brown one. We see it on the picture that the last stitch of the first row is also brown. The first one is brown and the last one is brown. So this is the last stitch and this is the first stitch. So above this stitch, the brown one, in the second row we will make the mint one, because the mint one is the first stitch of the second row, as we saw it on the picture. For that, we insert the hook in the middle of this V of this stitch, single crochet between these two strands of the yarn, into this stitch, into the first stitch of the first row. And then we hook the mint color, the mint yarn, because the first stitch of the second row is the mint stitch. We hook the working yarn and take a loop, hook the working yarn and push it through the loop on the hook. And we have started the second row. We made the first stitch of the second row, the first mint stitch above the brown one, above the first stitch of the first row. Let's look at the picture again. So we made one mint stitch now, right now. It's the first stitch of the second row, and it's made above the first stitch of the first row, above the brown stitch, the main color. And yeah, and next, look at the next stitch. The next one is brown, 2 brown stitches in the second row. So now we make 2 brown stitches. And since we already need to change the color of the yarn, again we pull out this last loop, because we need to finish this stitch with a brown color, because the next stitch will be brown. So 2 brown stitches, as we saw it on the picture. Again, we insert the hook in the middle of the stitch. And from the back side, it also comes from the middle of the stitch, between these 2 strands of the yarn, in the middle. So now we put over the hook the mint yarn that we are not using now. And also, if you have another tip like me, if you didn't hide this tip in the first row, you also put it over the hook to hide them. And this stitch is brown, so we hook the brown yarn, take a loop and make a brown stitch. And the next stitch is also brown, because we saw it on the picture that we should make 2 brown stitches. So insert the hook in the middle of the stitch. The mint yarn and the tip are over the hook. Then hook the brown yarn, take a loop, and the next stitch will be mint. So we finish this stitch with a mint color. Take mint yarn, the same way as we did it in the first row. Okay, so we've made 3 first stitches of the second row, 1 mint, 2 brown. Let's check what's next. So 1 mint, 2 brown, 3 stitches. Next one is mint, 1 mint, and then again 2 brown stitches, 1 mint, 2 brown. So 1 mint, insert the hook again in the middle of the stitch, then the tip and the brown yarn that we are not using now, we put over the hook, hook the mint yarn, take a loop, and we are gonna make now only 1 mint stitch. Next one will be brown, 2 brown stitches. So we finish this stitch with a brown yarn. Because we need to change the colors. So 1 mint, 2 brown, 1 mint, and again 2 brown. Don't forget to put the yarn that you're not using now over the hook. We make first brown stitch and the second one. And the next one will be mint, so we take mint yarn and finish the stitch with the mint yarn. So now we made 1 mint, 2 brown, 1 mint, 2 brown. One mint, 2 brown, 1 mint, 2 brown. The next one is 1 mint and then 3 brown. 1 mint, 3 brown. One mint. Next one will be brown, so we finish the stitch with the brown yarn. And 3 brown stitches. One, 2, and 3. This is the last brown stitch, so we take the mint yarn to finish this stitch, because the next stitch will be mint. So what we got: 1 mint, 2 brown, 1 mint, 2 brown, 1 mint, 3 brown. The same as on the picture. 1 mint, 2 brown, 1 mint, 2 brown, 1 mint, 3 brown. And we made the last stitch of the pattern of the second row. So now what we do, we start from the beginning, come back to the first stitch of the second row and crochet all the same again. So the first stitch is mint and then 2 brown.
One mint, then will be 2 brown, so finish with the brown. the second brown. It will finish with a mint color because the next stitch will be mint.
So 1 mint, 2 brown. Again, we look at the picture. 1 mint, 2 brown. Next one, again 1 mint, 2 brown. So you made 1 mint, 2 brown, 1 mint, 2 brown. 1 mint, 2 brown, 1 mint, 2 brown. Again 1 mint and 3 brown. So 1 mint, 3 brown, and we have repeated the pattern the second time. And now we start again from the beginning. Again, mint, 2 brown, mint, 2 brown, mint, 3 brown, and then again until we finish the second row. And the second row we will join the same way as the first one. So I have finished the second row, made my last stitch, and now one more time I will show you how we join the row. So first we make the loop big, big loop, then we insert the hook under the first stitch of this row from the back side, hook the loop and bring it to the back side, now we push the skein, the same skein as this loop. We push the skein through the loop, so now we have our loop here, and the working yarn goes through the loop. Now take the working yarn here and pull it. Don't forget to fix this stitch, the length of this stitch, the same as all other stitches. So here's our loop, it's small already. Continue pulling the working yarn until the loop is completely tightened. Now we have our loop here and the working yarn here, and pull the working yarn again to tighten this loop. So this is our joining. We've joined the second row, and now we will start crocheting the third one. First, let's look at the picture. The third row, this one, and you see that a lot of first stitches are all the same color, the main color. The brown one is, in my case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 brown stitches first, and then we will change the color. And the first stitch of the third row, we start above the mint stitch in the second row. This is the first stitch of the second row, it's the mint one. So the first stitch of the third row, we start above the mint stitch, and we make 7 brown stitches. So here's the mint stitch, the first stitch of the second row. So we insert the hook in the middle of this stitch, we always put the mint color over the hook while crocheting with the brown one. Hook the brown yarn, take a loop, hook the yarn, push it through the loop on the hook. So we've made the first stitch of the third row, and now we make 6 more brown stitches. And 7 brown stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. And now, after the brown stitches in the third row, 7 brown stitches, we have 1 mint, 1 brown, 1 mint, mint, brown, mint. So now we have to change the colors, the color to the mint one. So the last brown stitch we should finish with the mint yarn. And next stitch is mint. And the next one will be brown, so we finish this stitch with a brown color. The next one is brown, and the last one will be mint. So this is how the third row will look like. 7 brown stitches, 1 mint, 1 brown, 1 mint. Seven brown stitches, 1 mint, 1 brown, 1 mint. And we came to the end of this pattern, or of the pattern of the third row, and we started again from the beginning. Again we make 7 brown, 1 mint, 1 brown, 1 mint. And we do the same until we come to the beginning of the third row. So next stitches will be 7 brown stitches. That means that we should have finished the last stitch with a brown yarn. And now 7 brown stitches. The last brown stitch, and we finish it with a mint color because the next stitch will be mint. 7 brown stitches, and then we have 1 mint, 1 brown, 1 mint. So we repeated the pattern of the third row one more time. And we start the pattern again from the beginning, from 7 brown stitches, 1 mint, 1 brown, 1 mint, and we finish the third row. So finish this row by yourself and join this row the same way as we did before. So I have finished the third row and joined it the same way as we did before. Now let's see how we will crochet the next row. The row number 4, so it's this one. So we see that first 8 stitches we will make with the main color, so in my case with the brown color, brown yarn. Then we have 1 mint stitch, and the last stitch is also brown, and we start crocheting this row from the same stitch where we started to crochet the third row. The third row we started to crochet with a brown stitch. Yeah, we had here 7 brown stitches. So above the first brown stitch from the third row, we make the first brown stitch of the fourth row. So let's see, here's our working yarn, and we see that in the third row our first stitch, the brown one, was here. It's this one. We made here 7 brown stitches. So the first stitch of the next row we will start here into this stitch, into the first stitch of the third row, and first 8 stitches we make with the brown color. So we insert the hook into the first stitch of the third row and make here the first stitch of the fourth row. And now 7 more brown stitches. So let's check. So we've made 8 brown stitches, and the next one we have 1 mint stitch and then 1 brown one. And now we start this pattern of the fourth row from the beginning, because we've already made 8 brown stitches, 1 mint stitch and 1 brown. So we came to the end of the pattern of this row. Now we start from the beginning, the same way as we did it in the previous rows. So now we again make 8 brown stitches. And after 8 brown stitches we have 1 mint and then 1 brown, and then we start this pattern from the beginning. So continue this row, crochet to the end and join it the same way as you did before. And after you crochet this row, you can see already a part of your pattern. It's this one. And now let's start the next row, number 5. In this row we will also have only one mint stitch, but on different place. So first we see 3 brown stitches and then 1 mint stitch. So we make the first stitch at the same place where we made first stitches in previous 2 rows. You can see it here. Here we made 7 brown stitches and here 8 brown stitches. So we start from this stage, from the first stitch of the 4th row, and the first stitch we saw is brown. First 3 stitches are brown. And the 3rd one we finish with a mint color because the next stitch is mint. So 1 mint stitch, and we will also finish it with a brown color because the next stitch will be brown. So we've made 3 brown, 1 mint, and next 3 brown, 1 mint, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 brown stitches. And now start from the beginning again. 3 brown, 1 mint, 6 brown stitches. So crochet this row now all the way around the basket the same way until you come to the beginning of it. And the row number 6. In this row, first 2 stitches we will make with the main color, so with the brown one in my case, and then 3 stitches will be mint. 2 brown, 3 mint. In the last row we started with the 3 brown stitches, so that means that this stitch is the first stitch of the previous row. So in this row we also make the first stitch into this one, at this place. This is the beginning of our heart, first heart. And then we'll see that we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brown stitches. So we've made 2 brown stitches, 3 mint and 5 brown. And now we start the pattern from the beginning. We make again 2 brown, 3 mint and 5 brown. So continue the pattern in this row, then make all other rows the same way, looking at the picture. And after you crochet the last row, as you can see in the last row we don't have the second color, it's made only from the main color. So after you crochet the last row, we will not join that row the same way as we did before. we will start crocheting the border around the edge of the basket. And before we start crocheting the last row, let's cut the mint yarn, that yarn that we used to crochet the pattern, because the last row we will crochet only with one main color. So leave a little tip and cut the yarn. And now we can hide this tip using a needle with a big eye. We will just push the tip under the stitches from inside the basket. We can do it in different directions to make it stronger. And then cut the rest of the yarn. Now we start crocheting the last row using only the main color. The whole row just with one color. So I have finished the last row. As you can see, I didn't join it the same way as we did before, because now we will start crocheting the border around the edge of the basket. For that, we insert the hook under the first stitch of the row, like this. Hook the working yarn, take a loop, and then push this loop through this one. So we make just a slip stitch. Then we do the same with the next stitch. Insert the hook under the stitch, hook the working yarn, take a loop, and push this loop through this one. Next one. So we are getting such a border. Continue crocheting the border all the way around the basket. So I've made the last stitch in my border. This was the first one. And the last one is right before the first one. This one. Now leave here a tip and cut the yarn. Pull out the tip. Now we will finish at this place, making it to look the same as everywhere else. For that I will use a needle with a big eye. So first we need to make one more stitch here to join at the beginning of the border and the end of the border. For that, we insert the needle under the first stitch of the border, and now we need to bring the needle back to the same place where the tape comes from. Here our tape, it comes from this stitch, from the last stitch of the border. So we bring the needle into the same stitch where our tape comes from. And here from the top, we insert the hook, the needle, in the middle of the last stitch of the last row. It's this one. Fix the shape of this stitch so it would look the same as all other stitches. And now we need to finish our crochet from the top. As you can see, this place looks like there must be one more stitch too, so it would look the same. So for that, we should insert the needle under the first stitch of the last row of the walls. It's this one. And then again we bring the needle back to the same into the same stitch where the tip comes from. So the tip comes from this stitch, from the last stitch of the last row. So we insert the needle back into the same stitch. So now we've made one more stitch from the top too. And now this place looks completely the same as all the edge of the basket. And now just hide the rest of the tip under the stitches from inside the basket. The same way as we did it with the mint yarn. And then cut the rest of the yarn. And our basket is ready. And that's why I love this way of joining the rows, because as you can see, the seam from inside of the basket is almost invisible. I hope the tutorial was clear for you. If you like it, please leave your thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and click on the bell not to miss my next tutorials. Thank you for watching and see you soon!